Welcome to Good Sense, Bad Sense, No Sense Podcast, Episode 1. I am your host, Tyrese. I'll be speaking on being a younger millennial and also a parent. It's different. And I know everyone can say that their time and their generation or their age bracket or age group or their race or, color or whether you're male, female, or whatever else in between or nothing at all is different. But overall, being a younger millennial and a parent is different. This is what I mean, though. So, I was born in 93. I've been a parent for going on 9 years. I'm also married. Celebrating my anniversary on March 24th, I'll be celebrating 8 years. I'm one of the happiest men I know. Nonetheless, it's different being a younger millennial. I consider a younger millennial like the little brothers, little sisters, and then you have the older ones, which are predominantly probably in their 40s. Those are the older brothers, older sisters. Anybody in the uncle stats probably around like 50. That's no more like the previous generation. I call them the crack era. Or, those are the uncles, the dads, the moms. And then you have the grandparents, which is the baby boomers, and they're probably in their 80s to 100s. Those are the rare ones. But
come into Bell Tire today.
But nonetheless, that's what I consider a younger millennial. We're the younger brothers and younger sisters, and everything else in between. And being a younger millennium, I'm starting to understand my role more as I'm getting, I'll be 30 this year. I mean, it's definitely, life in general, overall, I've kind of seen life differently for a long time. But I'm getting, as I'm raising, I've been in the game for a while, and, out of the fun times of high school and middle school and all that. The perspective I have is our generation is the last that had not grown up with technology. We were the outdoorsy ones. We were, out. Like, not everyone's outdoorsy. That's hands down. Some people like reading books, or playing cards, and I was into that as well. We also had PlayStations, and we still have PlayStations in our time. That was more later on, but nonetheless, my generation, we were the last to kind of grow up without technology. As we have it today with the internet, we got it towards the tail end and whatnot, but we see it today. I didn't get my first cell phone until the end of my freshman year in high school. I know some people got it way later than that. I've talked to people who got it, their 12th grade year, because, in general, they're older at the time. It gets younger and younger now. Kids are 5 years old with cell phones. Who would have thought? Our job is to bridge the gap between the older millennials, the previous generation, the baby boomers, which in my opinion, I think baby boomers spoiled millennials. I just think the crack era gives a lot of, you guys are lazy to the millennials. They say we're lazy. They say we don't work hard. In my opinion, I do not see that being valid when if I'm not mistaken, everybody I've spoken to that actually were smart always said work smarter, not harder. And when you're working smarter and not harder, it's going to look different in how you do your work. We have a more advanced time with computers and AI, and yes, even though these things make life easier to get tasks that used to be done by man, or, calculations that can be done instantaneously, life is not getting easier because it's making life more technically. So I said that wrong, but technical is the word I was trying to say. Technical. We have our own challenges. Working smarter is more technical. It requires more time. It requires more patience. It requires thinking. Sit down work, not just work. Thinking work. We have a job to move ahead and do something better, which is what we're told, which is why in this time frame, people are misunderstanding where we're going, and I understand we don't really know fully where we're going, which is why we have so much conflict. We're kind of lost because we don't have one consensus as far as where we're going. What is the future? Where are we really headed, and why are we headed there? In my opinion, I think we've had a lot of major players participating, and a lot of the other ones just kind of watching, observing, which is the majority of us. It's not a bad thing. It's not a good thing. It's just how it has been. In order to move forward, we have to know where we've been, and that's also a struggle, being a younger millennial. Many of my partners, my associates, my peers, colleagues, whatever you want to call them, came up, blended families, mixed families, single families, adopted. It's all this, I'm saying, all goes in hand. Some didn't have a parent at all. The biggest issue of our time has really just been figuring out what was, so we know where to go. And we don't have much guidance, we just have creativity. There's nothing wrong with creativity, but creativity without guidance is just like everything else, it's chaos. It's why you have pictures and you have shapes and you have lines and you try to stay within them. There's nothing wrong with drawing outside of it, but sometimes in order to get where you gotta go, you gotta focus and you gotta get inside the line, not outside. It's time for abstract, but right now we need to focus. Gen Z wants to be very innovative. The older generation thinks that Gen Z or millennials are, lazy and, we're going too far away. And in general, we're all trying to figure out how to make this world inclusive. It's not going to be easy. Nothing's, in life worth it. It's never going to be easy. It doesn't have to be this hard. But in order to build a future that's cohesive, we have to first understand each other's needs. Being a younger generation, a millennial, it's like I have the responsibility to understand, the people, before me, and understand the people underneath me, not underneath me as far as, but just age. Not as far as stature and anything like that, age. I have to learn so I have something to teach or say to my children. I have to piece together my history, so I have to understand my dad's side, my mom's side. I have to understand these things, and it's not just for just knowing. It's because health, your DNA. Yes, you have the ability to overcome anything that you're diagnosed with if you do what you feel is best, whether that's exercise, eating the right foods, whatever you choose. But nonetheless, your DNA, your family, your lineage, your people are a huge makeup of who you are, and not knowing that you're missing pieces. History, stories. You don't gotta be his story. Stories of your people, your family, your fathers, your uncles, your grandmothers, your grandfathers, your aunts, your nieces, your nephews. Your ancestors, those who are now gone, but still there, in memory. Sometimes they really are there. Sitting right next to you, just in another form. But this is what we've been kind of tasked to do. A lot of what was not done in the previous generation has to be done now. We're taking leadership. Millennials have outnumbered the baby boomers. If I'm not mistaken, I just recently heard that, and I'm trying to figure out the source. It could have been NPR, could have been an article I read, on Morning Brew, which I do subscribe to. They said millennials outnumber the baby boomers. So a lot of these companies that have not yet succeeded their businesses are trying to figure out who are they going to pass the torches to, or big responsibilities, managerial. We have the ideas. We listen. We're in between. I know. I study up. I understand what I'm saying. I talk to older folks. I talk to the young folks. I don't disregard anyone. Everyone has something to offer. You have to stay in the know so you know where to go. You know how to move. Every generation is going to get to this point. Age defines what point you are in your group. Between 30 and 50, normally those are the people, I'm saying, starting office supervisors that move up to senior managers. By the time you're a senior manager, you're probably mentoring. Right now, I have mentors. You always need a mentor. But right now, in general, I have people I look up to and I'm learning from and growing from. I'm also taking my knowledge and passing it down to anyone else who's willing to listen to also use this information for themselves. By all means, if I can teach whoever, younger, older, this is what I'm learning from somebody that I look up to, no matter the age. But this is what being a younger millennial is like. There's misunderstandings. There's always sibling rivalries as well. Getting along with older millennials, they think that there's somebody else. You're still a millennial like I am. Which means you're still tasked with being innovative and being leaders as well. We look up to you just like you look up to someone else. But it's just like, so right, you have to challenge the older sibling because they're older than you and they always want to throw it in your face. But we studied you. Our information that we have is what you're not looking for. We're trying to cover your back. There are new things that people get stubborn in their ways to new information. They don't want to listen. They just want to stick to what they know. That's what got them that far. There's nothing wrong with that. You meet your own goals. Do what you know and get there. but we're covering your back. Each generation is covering each other's back by getting the points that we're not getting to. Things that are trending, for some reason, you have to study the trend and figure out why it is trending. Study. We have AI that creates trendy subjects. We have people who will get hired to create trendy subjects. They study the algorithm and they create trendy subjects. So it's a different time. Being a millennial is different. Being a younger millennial is different. Each generation that gets to where I'm at, the younger sibling, the last of a generation, will be in the same boat that I'm in, with the same responsibility that I have, to not only hold on to the history and some traditions, but also understand that, yes, this new generation coming up is right. It is time to change. It is time to innovate. We need better habits. We cannot keep continuing the way we are going. It is time for something new. So let me double check.
Come into Bell Tire today.
It's weighed on my mind for a while. This has been weighing on my mind, weighing on my heart as well. But this is what it's like being a millennial, a younger millennial, and a parent. It is not easy being a younger millennial and a parent. I have four beautiful children. 4 beautiful children. Amazing. Would not trade them for anyone else's. I love my children. The times we in with a lot of younger grandparents or in general parents, I can't blame the parents all the way. It is hard on everybody to take care of family members that are sick. We are in a busy time, all dealing with stresses differently. We have people right now who are starting their careers off at the bottom of the pay scale. That's really when you're broke, you have to budget your dollars tightly. I've seen older folks the same way. That's the difference between the baby boomers and the crack era babies. That's what I call them. Sorry, but that's the only thing. That's the difference, is the baby boomers didn't do as bad as the crack era as far as retirement and wealth. Millennials have it hard because a lot of wealth was not passed down. And wealth is not just finances, it's information, it's stories, it is family knowledge. Genealogy is just as important as mathematics. Understanding your family stories is just as imperative as architecture. As a book. So we missed out on those key points, a lot of us. I've met many people who raised themselves. I've met many people who decided that, they didn't want to do anything like their parents. They wanted to be the better parents. My generation has been given flowers or kudos or praise for actually being more present in their children's lives. We will call out of anything to be there for our kids. We will miss overtime to be with our children. It's not easy taking care of children, dealing with their sicknesses, teaching them, understanding that we have to work full time. Most of us have to work. There's two parents working. Daycare has to be provided. You have to have. Most of us don't have the grandmothers, grandfathers to help raise kids. Nope. They're too old, too busy. They might not be retired yet. They might be broke too. To help take and raise the family, it takes a village to raise a family. Otherwise, it will be the schools. The difference between our predecessors and the baby boomer generation is their schools were different than ours. They were born in a time of segregation. So things are more centralized. Now things are together, they're blended, and most of us don't really know who is really in our schools. We don't understand the kids. We don't talk to the other parents. Most of us are too busy for that. Communities aren't communities anymore. It's too diversified. Nothing wrong, but at some point in time you need to figure out who you're around. It's not easy being a parent, a younger millennial parent. It's not easy being a parent overall, but especially my generation. I moved to where I'm at to give my children a foundation and to learn their history and to learn their stories and be around their stories. From the people they need to hear them from. But times are different. We definitely need to change the culture. Oh, I'm going back. Like I said, we've been given our flowers of being more present in our children's lives. But we have to. We missed out. Why should they? I can't speak for everybody, but a lot of us in the millennial group missed out on the family experience. The true family experience. Family experience, though, in any form, everything is, it's not normal 100%, but all of us have our own unique stories. There's nothing wrong with any of them as long as you're not getting abused. But overall, we all have our own unique stories. I still love my family. Wouldn't trade them either. But nonetheless, a lot of us missed out on the true family experience. And wealth wasn't passed down. Information wasn't passed down. We're trying to figure out where to go. My age group has been taking the reins. We just had our youngest I think at the time during the last election, we had the youngest president running. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was Andrew Yang. But I think there was another person as well that was pretty young. I have to get his name. But we're stepping into politics. We just recently got into Congress two of the youngest politicians to ever go. Just happen to be Gen Z. It's pretty interesting. Kudos. But yes, it's different being a millennial. I think I've covered much. This is not going to be the last time I speak on this. It's definitely different being a millennial. These are the stories that I have to share. This is what we're going through. Misunderstandings, misconceptions. We're not lazy. We're working smarter. And that's going to take time. And in order to think, we need the time. But life is going to get more technical. That's going to take time. We need reconstruction of our education system, not just for ourselves, but for our children. We're going to need the time, and we're going to need the resources. We're going to need the resources. In order to have a more cohesive, inclusive world, we need to understand where we are, who we are, and why we're here, and where we're going. Thank you for listening. This is Tyrese. See you next episode. Thank you.